Hey everyone, welcome back to another redstone video. Today I've got a super smelter that's compact and relatively easy to build and requires very few items to actually build. Let's get started. Just as a warning, this isn't going to be a tutorial video. I'm going to leave a world download in the description below, and I would say go ahead and check it out for yourself. There is a few things you're going to need to know from myself, so I would advise that maybe you watch some of the video and skip past any parts that you find irrelevant. The main thing I want to go through is the rail placement. It can be a little bit confusing and finicky, so I think it's best that I show you, but otherwise I think you're going to get the setup once you get the world download and you'll see all the parts that I've used in the system. So before we get started with the breakdown, I think it's best that we show you the entire thing working. So firstly, we're going to go ahead and put in 2 stacks of sand and let that smelt down. That should give us a good idea of how the whole thing works. So you can see the 2 minecarts go into place, pick up 32 items and distribute it amongst 32 furnaces. There's 32 furnaces per side, which means it can do a stack at a time. Once all the items have been emptied out, the minecarts end up underneath this spot over here, and then when you put in some more items ready to smelt, they'll come out and collect 32 at a time and distribute it evenly across the furnaces. Your fuel would go in here, so essentially there's a double chest. You'd fill this up with whatever kind of fuel you want to use. I would definitely advise not using sticks. It's not necessarily a system that the sticks would work very well with, so I would say using something like charcoal or coal would be ideal. Obviously things that have even higher burning time would be better for like bigger stacks of items. So once all the items are smelted, they all go into this dropper over here. This dropper then spits out all the items into the water stream, and they go up into this tube and then end up in this collection system over here. You can see that I've done quite a few tests on it already, so you can there's a lot more glass than there should be, but essentially that's how everything works. So essentially how the fueling system works is the very first furnace on each side of the array, it gets an update as soon as one of the fuels is used, and then as soon as that happens, this will evenly distribute 1 coal per furnace. Now obviously if any of the furnaces are not being used, it will just go ahead and skip past that part and end up back in the little storage system here. The minecart will go through all the hoppers and then ends up following this chain just underneath here. This will then go straight back into the position where it was right here. And a quick tip, if you don't have a lot of fuel, when you have a hopper like this, you can go ahead and put filler items in all of these 4 slots here, and then just make sure you have your main fuel in the first slot over here, because you're always going to be refilling the fuel. You won't ever have to worry about going into the filler items and it messing up the system, so it shouldn't be an issue. Another thing to mention is this section over here. Please do not place any blocks here, don't place anything here, just leave it as a gap. I found that the minecart hoppers have issues picking up the right amount of items when there is a block or anything here. I even put comparators here earlier to try and compact the system even more, and that really threw off the whole system, and yeah, so it wasn't a good idea. So no blocks or anything over here. Everything else around this area should be fine. So in regards to rail placements, you're just going to have to be very careful when you're in what update you're going to put the rails in. You can see over here that this rail line runs around here and then goes through here and then snaps onto this one over here instead of curving around. There was a bit of an issue with distributing items earlier when I was using it that way, so I found that just snapping this one here was the ideal thing to do. I think for some reason this hopper over here was getting an item as it turned this curve. It was kind of strange, so on both sides I had to do that. So my advice to you is to lay this line down first before you put down this line. If you're using Lightmatica and you use the layer tool, I think you should be pretty much fine with all of the rail placement. The same thing goes for these rails here, and especially this one down here. Quite often you do find that this starts connecting with this one and it can be a bit of a headache, so just try and keep these away from each other and you should be all good. And one last thing, when you're placing the minecarts down for the first time, make sure you place them on the slope over here. That is quite necessary to it. I guess the final thing here to point out, it would be the collection system. Again, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a little clock that runs every time the items end up in the system. This will then flow through the water stream and then end up in the double chest here. If you want, you can put a shulker loader here. If you don't have one, I have one on my channel. Go ahead and check it out. But yeah, in the meantime, I've just made this a really simple version of a super smelter. If you want something a lot more complicated and a lot more cooler, go ahead and check out my hyper smelter video. That one's probably a little bit more for you if you're an advanced player. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I'll be bringing a few more videos in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned if you like it. Bye bye.